I'm not really hearing James that well. I hear you fine.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Yeah, me too.
I recall you being louder last time.
Mic check.
There you go.
Yeah, that's better.
Way better.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, guys.
No worries.
Welcome back.
Okay, hold on here. I gotta delete everything out of the tree. I'll just make a new scene. Okay, so we've got the tank here, and it looks good. I like it. So let's go ahead and jump. Well, here, let me talk to Robert here just for a second. Robert, did you see the issues here with the script? This one here. So whenever I'm down here to our little guy, so I can place a building way over there. The unit, it doesn't move, but it does, it allows me to place it way too far away from the vehicle.
Okay.
So I want to see if we can get that fixed, because you see I'm like,
Okay, I didn't get you, right? You want to be able to place it really near, or
yeah, we won't be able to only place it, you know, within proximity of the vehicle, like, you know, maybe, you know, no further, you see the white box, no further than that from the vehicle. So something like that would be okay. But, you know, obviously clear out here would not be. So if you would you create an agenda for that to,
yeah, sure.
okay.
Yeah, it is okay if we just make it so when you click the button, it just spawns like that.
Well, we don't want it to just spawn. We want to be able to actually place it where we want.
Okay. Just check. Just
Okay. So let me get out of that. The other thing is that I know you mentioned that we were going to incorporate this into the project. Were you able to do that at all?
Can you repeat that?
The XML that Gary did.
Okay.
I know you mentioned something about importing that into the project. Were you able? Did you ever do that, or do we need an?
I moved it inside the resource. It's not implemented yet.
Okay. Well, I don't mean implement. I mean just taking what he had and putting it into the project.
Yeah, that's done.
Okay. So let's look at. being set. So I noticed when I was merging this yesterday, it was the 7th, yes, that a lot of these came over.
That's because I moved them from Sandbox to.
Oh, okay, you're refactoring them.
Yeah, that's why they are deleted there and I moved them.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't something funny going on, so. Okay, so with that, I think that you know, our demo of the game last week. I think with that being said, I think we're good to go as far as you know, what we have updated. This week, I'd like to get the tank animated into TFS so that we can actually test animation on a unit inside the game. And then also start building scripts to actually call the animation and fire off when we want it to. So let's look at the flow chart real quick here, because I want to review where we're at from last week to where we are from right now, which I know is not a significant change, unfortunately, but let's take a look here. So we determined that the units outside of animation is done. So this is just for completing the MVP process of our development, so we can actually move on to vertical slice. So the unit itself, I think we're probably good to go on that with all the testing and things that I've seen that we've developed with the assets and the asset list. And if you guys don't know, let me show you how to look at the assets that we have. So this is a complete list of it. And if you go to download and then view gameable assets, you can come here. And then there's a bunch of filters on the right that you can filter out by if you want. By default, it shows all the assets that are actually in the game engine itself that we've created, which would be under this is gameable folder, and then respectively by whatever category we've categorized them by. And that happens by setting them to is gameable. So with this here, you can either look at it in this view or you can look at it on the Unity folder view, which this is basically a replicates the is gameable folder here to a T. So like, you know, unit, whatever, inventory, whatever units we have listed that we can play with are going to be right here. And, you know, the types are listed here of what they are. So just so everybody knows where you can find your test stuff inside the project itself once you download it and start messing with it. So once a 3D artist is done, like this tank here, the tank was set to is gameable, so the tank should be right here. Which if you click on the website, it'll take you here, and then it gives you right here the exact location of it with inside of Unity. So with that being said, our animation and all the other stuff that we've done, we've got quite a few assets already that we can test with. So looking at the units here, I would say that as far as that goes, we're probably done as far as MVP is concerned. I think we have enough test stuff to, you know, to do whatever we need to do. The GUI, on the other hand, it's at a point, I think, right now that we could probably start taking the GUI items off of that agenda that was created for the 2D artist. And Tessa, can you go ahead and on the GUI buttons here, will you categorize them, you know, down here, and then edit. When you go to edit, you'll set the is gameable to true. and then select the category it goes in. Since it's all going to be GUI, it'll be in-game texture. So that right there would be the basically the location inside of TFS. It'll be loaded once you hit save. Now it does take an hour for this to propagate back into TFS. And when it does come into TFS, it only loads into the main branch only. And then I have to merge it out to everybody else. So if you guys are looking for something and you don't find it, let me know, because this probably just means I need to merge it. And since you guys all have access to TFS, you can always look inside of the structure and see if it's actually there or not. So, okay, so with the GUI, I think from this standpoint, I think we have the basic stuff already listed. Let me get back to the, let's look at the asset list here. So these are all the assets that have been loaded up already. And I think we have the basics like attack. So we got repair, attack. What's this? Okay. If our meeting cuts out, guys, I am sorry. I think we may end up having to pay for this. Hold on. Let me get out of the way. Thank you. Let's take a look here. Hold on one second here. Let me send this. Tessa, will you look at this? See if we can get into that. We're probably going to end up buying this program just so we can use it every week. Like I said, we were just testing it too because of the issue with TeamViewer where they limited us to only like 5 people. So, okay, so let's continue. So the GUI after all these are labeled is gameable. So home, demolish, Ajax, so on. I think we got the basics of the commands that we need. So we could probably call this done as well. It's just programming that needs to be done to actually put them into place where they should go. But that also comes with a little bit of, I think, a little bit of a caveat because we're not exactly sure at this point of how we want it to kind of function. So I think until we actually see the need for it, Robert, I think we'll just, it's there. So when we actually need it, then you know where to get it, put it in. And by the time that comes, it'll be loaded into TFS and into your branch, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so selection, as far as selection goes, I think with the way that this functions, I like the way that it clicks and the formatting and everything that we have going on. So, I mean, I don't see an issue with that. We still got that camera issue for that, and I think we still have the panning issue of going out, don't we? We can still go outside the box. Yeah. So those 2 issues need to be worked out. And Aaron, you're doing those, right? If I remember right. How are those coming along?
I have actually just started on it.
Okay.
Really busy.
Do you think you can have it done by next Saturday?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good. So if we can get that by next Saturday, we'll incorporate that. That'll take care of that little problem there. So, and that's the camera issues that we were discussing. As far as buildings go, I think for MVP, I think we're good. We can place them, and that's I think right now that's kind of the only thing we want to do is be able to place, and then I know we can also spawn off of them new units, and I think that's probably all we probably need for MVP at least. Let me just make sure that's still working. Yeah. Man, that's pretty, Robert.
Thank
All right. So, and then as far as terrain goes, so terrain, I think we should probably have it to where, we have our air and we have our water. I haven't seen any units yet be able to actually traverse into the water versus into the land. And I know that we have this stopped on going to water, I believe. Let's find out and make sure. But from my other testings, I believe.
I'm not sure if we apply the nav mesh to water.
Yeah. So we want. I think. Robert, will you make an agenda for creating water assets only and one for creating air assets for programming? We can use some of the assets that we have on the website. Let's take a look real quick just to make sure. But we should have planes already. Plane or helicopter, either one will do. Yeah, so we got an Apache here that we can use, or just a Cobra. And then for water, let's see, yeah, we got this battleship. This battleship is really detailed though, but it'll work for testing. So let's do that. And then also make a third one for submarines. Let's take a look at, because that one there is I think that one there is gonna be a little tricky. But if we do, yeah, if we do submarines, we got a little space here. But if we do submarines, we're gonna have the water will have to be somewhat transparent. So we'll have to keep that in mind. But I think if we put the ships on top of this and put a nav mesh and then put one just right here on the bottom of this, on the terrain, just put another, what is this, a plane? I'm assuming it's a plane. I'd have to look. Let's look at, who made that terrain? Was that Joe? No?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's take a look at terrain northeast. Okay, there's water. Yeah, it looks like it's a plane. So let me make a design agenda for that. So let's see, design. Create another plane for subs. So I think that's what we'll do, is that we'll have this. Now the only problem with that is if we have, like, our maps are going to get more complex than this. So I think what we'll do is let's make a layer tag for water, or a layout tag, or was it? Yeah.
I think nav mesh has its own layer system.
Okay. Well, let's do that, and then we'll set one for. We need one for surface watercraft, so boats, and then we'll need one for submarines. We'll just call it. Let's call it submersible.
Okay.
So we'll do that, and then that should take care of those. So if you'll create an agenda for programming to make that happen, and then I'll create an agenda for design to put that into the map here.
Okay.
Zoom. Come on. There we go. Okay. Okay, so that's where we're at with that. So terrain. So let's look at the animation, because right now I think that's going to be the bottleneck for 3D is animation. So who did some research on that to figure out how we can do it?
I didn't get to do a whole lot, but I've done a little bit before. First off, in Unity, for the animation to be used, they're trying to use Mecanum and phase out most other methods. Mecanum is like their in-house animation, so far as I understand it, and basically we've got Mecanum or Legacy. That's what I'm familiar with myself. I've found more use out of Legacy than Mecanum, but they advise against using that because it's old. And so we kind of need to establish which one we're going to go for. Also, if we're going to rig and animate in Unity or Blender. And we could do a mixture. It just depends on what we're after.
Yeah, well, so what we need to do, if Mechanic is the way they're going, we obviously don't want to use legacy stuff because when they start doing more updates, then it's going to be eventually a problem. So if this is the direction that we need to go, then that's perfectly fine.